Mr. Chu here. Let's talk about solving proportions, solving for x in tray arithmetic. There's two different ways a proportion can be written. One way you can write it is with a colon in between the two numbers, set equal to a colon in between the two numbers. And the second way is just to write a fraction equal to a fraction. They're both proportions. So when you want to solve these, in example 1, you're going to take and multiply the two insides. 4 times x is 4x. And the two outsides and set them equal. 3 times 8. 3 times 8 is 24. We have to simplify. That is just a simplifying step. Now, I don't want 4x's. I just want 1x, or x, to equal a number. So you use the inverse operation. The inverse, or opposite, of multiplying x by 4 is dividing x by 4. So if I divide the left, I have to divide the right, and that's called the division property of equality. 4 over 4 cancels out as a 1, and 1 times x is x. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So in this particular example, I can take now and substitute and see if it makes sense. 3 colon 6, which means 3 to 6, which means that that 3 is doubled. Does that equal 4 colon 8, where the 4 is doubled? Yes. So that is the way that you can kind of check it mentally. You could also go ahead and redo it like this and multiply to see. So remember how we did it. The inside, 6 times 4 is 24. Does that equal the two outsides? 3 times 8 is 24. Sure does. So we did that correctly. Now, the most common way that these are written is like a fraction equaling a fraction. So I always taught my middle school students to use what we called the butterfly method. And you take and you multiply along that diagonal 4 times 30. And we say that equals the other side of the butterfly, the other two wings, 5 times x. 4 times 30 is 120 equals 5x. Now, anytime I have a one-step equation where I'm multiplying the variable, you undo that by using the inverse operation, which means I divide by the coefficient. So I divide the right by 5, so I have to divide the left by 5. That's called the division property of equality. The 5 over 5 ends up being 1, and 1 times x is x. 120 divided by 5. This is an arithmetic class, so it's good to practice all of these basic arithmetic operations. 5 will not divide into 1, but it will divide into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. I subtract that, bring my 0 down. Now 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. And when I get a 0 here, it means that it terminated. So that equals 24. So when we check that, how do you check it? I substitute this value back in to my original equation, and then I do my butterfly. 4 times 30 with a question mark. Does that equal 5 times 24? 4 times 30 is 120. 5 times 24 is 100 plus 20, or 120, and it did work. All right? So, now we're going to take and work a couple of problems. I'm going to let you try them, and I call those student challenge problems. So, I will write them down here. And then you can try these on your own. Problem A, we're going to write it with this colon format. Where we solve for x, now we're going to solve for y. So 5 is to y, equaling 6 as to 36. We want to know what y equals. Okay? And use the same method. Your second problem is 6 over y equals 24 over 20. And I want you to cross multiply using the butterfly method and find out what y equals. I am Mr. Chu. There is a link if you're watching this in on my YouTube channel down here to subscribe to me. If I post this in TikTok, there is a link in my profile for you to click on my YouTube channel. Then after you click on my YouTube channel, subscribe, and then you'll be able to see all these videos. If you watch me on TikTok, follow me, and you'll see more. So the last thing before I end this video, right up here will be a link to what I call proportions 2b, which is just the lesson number I use, which will be the solution to these two. So you can pause this now, and then as soon as this link comes up, and then work them, then click on the link, and then you'll be able to watch it and see if you did them correctly. Down here will be a playlist with all of the proportions and ratio videos that I've done. I'm Mr. Chu. I want to help you learn arithmetic. And I'll see you next time in my next video.